Live feed now.
Let's go. Okay, well, welcome everybody again, and thank you so much for tuning in to Mitie's Big Equality Summit number 2. Thank you also for joining us during National Inclusion Week, which is a chance for us to celebrate, how our diversity makes us stronger, and celebrate everyday inclusion in all its forms. As I said in my invite, Mitie is such an incredibly diverse company. It's something I'm really proud of. Our workforce is represented by over 149 nationalities, 5 generations of Mitie colleagues, over 10,000 of a Black, Asian and minority ethnic heritage, and they all contribute different insights and skills. And it really is something that I'm incredibly proud of, that it's our people who are at the heart of this company, and we really are nothing without you all. And we all know, I think, that the vast majority of that 10,000 BAME community colleagues are working on the front line, working in essential roles, keeping Britain working in hospitals, in schools, in factories, vital transport hubs, in banks and telecommunications. They are the people who have really kept this country going through a very difficult time that we all face through COVID. So they are the frontline heroes, and I think we all join in saluting all those 10,000 so colleagues. So the first Mitie Big Equality Summit was held, I think I was in my dining room in Dorset on the 11th of June. Today we are back in the office. We're one of the few companies, hopefully, that are socially distanced, but back in our office here in the Shard. I'm very pleased that I'm joined by a number of our colleagues from the executive team, Joe, Damola, and of course Marcia, who is my mentor through all the whole inclusion agenda. And at the time in June, we were 2.5 months into COVID. I don't think anyone really knew what was going to happen. It's almost nearly 4 months later, and we're still working in a restricted way and still face the dangers of COVID. So I do hope everyone is safe. I hope your family is safe. But I am proud of the progress this company's been making during that time. As I said at the time, we wanted Mitie to be recognised as a really inclusive place to work. And since the first summit, we're not by any means there yet. But I am proud to say that I do think we are making a number of steps forward, which Jasmine is going to address, and things that were raised at the last summit: communication channels, our training, career progression, resourcing, charity partnerships, BAME representation in leadership teams, and particularly health and well-being. And I'd like to think that we've made progress in all of those. Marcia, hopefully you'll tell me if we haven't, but I think hopefully from what Jasmine will talk about, I think we can see that we are making progress. And the equality at Mitie Summit number 1 was the start, but like all good ideas, since then the spark of a good idea has really taken hold of the company and ignited many people who are really passionate about making a difference. And since then, you've brought more ideas, you've brought more energy and vision. And I think we're really getting some momentum now in a way that probably none of us thought was possible in that time. So it's a fantastic achievement. I feel like we've gone from thinking, can it be done, to it can be done, and it can be done well. And that's why I'm proud to say that even in my own small way, I feel like I've made some contribution, and it shows we can all make a contribution, however small. The 2 areas where I think I've made a contribution was firstly on recruitment and secondly on learning and development. And on recruitment, I'm delighted to be joined on the call by Cynthia Davis, who's the CEO and founder of BAME Recruitment, who I met shortly after our first conference. She'll be speaking later. Welcome, Cynthia. As you will tell from Cynthia, she is incredibly passionate, hugely knowledgeable, incredibly impressive and very persuasive. And she certainly persuaded me that she could help us make a real difference in recruitment, diverse recruitment in Mitie. So big welcome to Cynthia. And I think the second small contribution that I've made is around learning and development. You know, I wanted something around learning and development that was real and not just a sort of tick box exercise. And you know, a lot of companies are doing this now. There's a Harvard survey around unconscious bias, but you know, it's something people do but don't necessarily engage with. And I'm delighted that we've made a decision to sort of put our money where our mouth is and spend some real money on real material to hear what it's really like to get to be a place where diversity is you know, celebrated. And so I'm also joined by Ruth Bourne from T3. We've committed, as I say, to create a really best-in-class learning program called Count Me In, and that's something that is kick-starting today. So without further ado, massive welcome. Summit number 2, as I said, momentum is building. You are making a difference, and let's get that spark into a real flame that really gets burning deep in everybody across Mitie to make us really a company that is renowned for its equality across the company. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Ruth, and hopefully Ruth, you will explain what's going to be happening in the next hour or so.
I will do. Thank you very much, Phil. And while listening to Phil there, I got a little fizz of excitement about what will be happening in Mitie over the next few weeks and months, and just the different approach that you've decided to take with regards to diversity and inclusion. So thank you very much for that, Phil, and thank you for listening with me today. My name's Ruth Bourne. I'm a client partner at T3, and T3, as Phil has explained, has been chosen to be your learning partner in this movement for change. I'm not going to call it a training programme because it's not. It's a movement for change, and I'm delighted to be supported by Cynthia and all the work that you'll be doing in terms of recruitment as well. So thank you very much. I'm very quickly going to explain what will be happening and why. So I just wanted to say beforehand, we've obviously done a lot of work looking at Mitie and thinking about Mitie, and I love the fact that your strapline is about supporting all of you, supporting to deliver an exceptional service every day, and that really resonates. And really, organisations like you can only do that through people like you, and for every one of your diverse talents, your differences, being brought to the fore and being really included in the way things are done at Mitie. So that's really positive and powerful. So why now? I mean, Phil's already alluded to the fact that the world has woken up. It's too late. It's really too late. Should have been done a long time ago. But at least something positive has started to come out of the terrible things that have been happening, particularly around the events of recent weeks. And lots of companies are doing diversity and inclusion training. They're sending people on courses, they're learning what they can and can't say to be legally safe. But what's great about Mitie is that your ambition is far more than that. That isn't just enough for you. What we're hearing you really want is to make a permanent movement for things to be different and better and changed. And that really excites us in T3, because we're not about delivering training programs. We're about helping organisations and the people in them change the way things happen, change the way people behave. And that's hard. It's really hard, You know, any of you who are still doing your New Year's resolutions, well, congratulations. Mine have gone by the wayside. So we know it's hard, and what's great is that Mitie is committed to a campaign that's going to be right for every one of you, wherever you're working in Mitie and whatever job you're doing. So what's this movement for change all about? It's about embracing your differences. It's about everybody building their confidence to make great choices about how you behave towards each other and to your customers in a way that really is inclusive, not just using the word, not just lip service, but really in the heart of the heart being inclusive. We want Mitie to be a place where each and every one of you can be yourself at work, whoever you are, whatever your differences, and that those are celebrated and where you feel you can really thrive. We want you to be involved in building a Mitie that you can be proud of, where you can be proud of who you are and what you do, and that you can be proud of who you work with and who you work for. So what does this mean? What do we need? At T3, we don't have ready-made solutions. Often these just don't work, because actually we miss out on the brilliance of people like you. So what we want from you is we want you to say, count me in. We want you to help us build a series of activities and support that helps you and the organisation be more confident in the choices of how you are and how you behave to build a more inclusive and diverse Mitie. We want this campaign to be in your language, to be right for your worlds, be right for your jobs and meet your different needs. And we can't do that without hearing from you. So we're about to launch some online learning. It's great fun. I've done it myself. I've learned things. And actually, the people on there are all of your people who've stepped up and said, count me in. And you'll find as you go through the learning, there are a number of questions that we ask you to answer. And this isn't about whether you're right or wrong in the answers. That's not what this is about. This is about gathering information from you about what choices you're making around inclusion and where you might need extra support. So it's about helping us shape the campaign, but hopefully it will start to create a buzz and a conversation about diversity and inclusion in your everyday working lives. It's certainly done that for me. It's also hopefully something that you might learn something about yourself, which is always really important, isn't it? But we can't start to think about where we might want to change unless we're thinking about where we're starting from. So I think we're actually going to put it in the chat. I think today the link to the online learning will be in the chat, but also there will be an email coming out over the next few days. And all you have to do is click on it and enjoy. And we are really looking forward to hearing from you and working with you. So thank you very much. Count yourselves in, do the online learning, and I'd like to pass over to Jennifer.
Thanks so much, Ruth. So I'm Jenny Duvalier. I'm one of Mitie's non-executive directors, and I also have the additional responsibility that I represent the voice, your voice, the voice of our workforce in our boardroom discussions and decision making. So as Phil said, our people are what makes Mitie really special. We're very proud of our rich, diverse culture and backgrounds and our diversity, which creates wonderful ideas and very rich insights. Our commitment to diversity and inclusion forms a fundamental part of who we are as an organisation. Our diversity really does make us stronger. But there's no clear or consistent definition for the term diversity and inclusion. People and businesses use it in lots of different ways. At Mitie, when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we're referring to the simple fact that everyone is different. So diversity and inclusion at Mitie is about more than the protected characteristics. It's about creating an environment where everyone has a voice and everyone is treated as an equal. Diversity refers to the traits and characteristics that make people different. Diversity is the what. It's about the physical makeup of the organisation. When we talk about inclusion, we're referring to the behaviour and actions of our people to ensure everyone feels welcome. Inclusion is a how. It's about the culture of our organisation. And of course, to be a great place to work, we need both. So inclusion starts with you. It's about the conversations that you're having with your colleagues and your customers each and every day, day in, day out. We're always going to get things wrong, despite our best efforts. But to improve as individuals and as a business, we need to open up conversations, even if they're difficult or uncomfortable. So I've completed the first part of the Count Me In learning, and I've learned some stuff about myself. I've learned that while I'm really fortunate to be part of an organisation that is as diverse as Mitie, sometimes I can be too focused on what I'm doing, or I can be in a rush or under pressure, and I don't always take the time to learn about people and to make those deeper connections. So one of my reflections from the Count Me In experience is that being inclusive really does mean taking the time to appreciate who others are and to learn more about them. Curiosity is a superpower, and I'm going to use it more often. With that, I'm going to hand over to Jasmine.
Thank you very much, Jenny. It's great to see that all of the ELT have completed the learning that Ruth referenced, and each one of them come back and said how fantastic it is and how thought-provoking. So we hope you feel the same when you get the chance to complete it, and let us know your feedback. So I'm going to talk a bit about what we've achieved since the last summit. So over the last few months, we've been refining our D&I strategy with the support of the network chairs to ensure that our focus is in the right place. And we're really excited to share the D&I strategy with you, and we'll be sending that out post-call. Our strategy is to create a great place to work by attracting and retaining a diverse workforce and fostering a truly inclusive culture where everyone can bring their true selves to work. It's part of how we level up Mitie. So the Big Equality Summit that we held last time was born out of the Black Lives Matter movement in the UK. And although a lot of our initial actions are focused on race and ethnicity, and a huge thank you to Cord for really leading the way on this, we know that these actions will benefit everybody. So what have we actually done since the last summit? We have recommunicated our zero tolerance approach to discrimination of any kind, and I want to take this opportunity to really reiterate this stance. We've also recommunicated our bullying and harassment procedures. And on the last call, a few comments and concerns were raised, and we followed up with each of these individually. Now, we've made improvements to the way that we report on our grievances, and we know that of a total of 172 grievances raised since June, 12% were discrimination related. So we can see that there's been no serious uptick year on year. We're not overly concerned, and it's great to see that people are reporting concerns. But I want to reiterate that everyone can and should speak up about discrimination, and you can do this through the formal routes available or email me directly. Now, we've also supercharged our D&I communications. You'll have seen various case studies, national days, and you'll have noticed that we have a funky new section in Download called FYI about D&I that gives managers a couple of talking points every month to provoke conversation discussion around diversity and inclusion. Now, the next one I'm really proud of, every single Mitie employee now has access to our Learning Hub. This is an enormous step forward in giving all of our people opportunities to upskill and to progress in their careers. But it also means that the hugely exciting Count Me In learning that Ruth just referenced is available to everybody from the moment that we launch. Now, the next one we haven't quite done as yet, I can't put it on my tick box, but we are hours away from launching the big Mitie census. And this is about encouraging people to update their details in People Hub. Data is hugely important to us as it enables us to see the progress against the plans that we have. So please do ensure that your personal information on People Hub is as accurate as you are comfortable in sharing. We've launched our new occupational health service provider, Optima. That's in place now, and people are getting referred to accompany our employee assistance programme to ensure that the well-being of our people is properly looked after. Now, another enabler to our strategy that we have started to tackle, and this is a big one, is recruitment. Now, we changed the way that we publish our internal vacancies to ensure that everyone, even those not on Mitie systems, can now see our internal vacancies and have the chance to apply. And you can head to mitiepeople.com now to check it out. And as Phil has already mentioned, we are extremely delighted to be working with the very talented Bain recruitment team, headed up by founder and CEO Cynthia Davis. Now, Cynthia is an award-winning CEO, passionate about fair and equal opportunities for everyone. with 20 years in recruitment, working for the likes of BT, Carphone Warehouse, ITV, the House of Commons and Comic Relief, which sounds great fun. Cynthia is also a working parent, a mentor, a keynote speaker and a diversity panellist. I'll hand over to Cynthia to talk more about BAME recruitment and how that partnership is going to help every one of you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for that wonderful intro, and thank you everyone for allowing me to be here today. I'm really delighted to join your second summit. I was privileged to attend the first summit, and this was, as Phil mentioned earlier, just at the start of the lockdown after everything that happened with the BLM movement. And for me, I think, you know, when we started our conversations with Mitie, there was something very different with some of the conversations that we have with clients. I think there was an honesty about what Mitie is trying to do, which was really refreshing to hear. But also, I really got a sense that this was something that was genuine about actually actioning and putting, you know, all the intentions and goodwill into practice and not just words or tick box exercise. So just to kind of talk to you a little bit about me and the organisation that I head up. We're a diversity and inclusion consultancy firm, and the work that we do is working with organisations that going on a journey of change, and that journey is about making sure that everyone has equal access to opportunities, irrelevant what background they come from. So the work that we do is across all protected characteristics. So that's ethnicity, that's gender, that's LGBTQ+, disability. But it's to make sure that, you know, we live in one of the most diverse cities in the world, where everybody's represented. But unfortunately, when it comes to opportunities, and especially career opportunities, sometimes it's not a level playing field, that not everyone has equal access to those opportunities. And that for us is the reason why we exist today. And I set up my business after having worked in recruitment for over 20 years, and I was so frustrated at the lack of seeing change happen and progress happen. And for me, you know, it was moving at a very, very small pace. And I remember when I first started out my career about 20 years ago, and I'm a Yorkshire lass. You can't really quite tell from my accent, but I'm from Yorkshire. And I remember my first job in recruitment back in Leeds. It was an organisation that had 120 consultants that worked in this firm. And of the 120 consultants, there were only 5 women, and I was the only person of colour. And for me, that started my journey of asking why. Why is it when, you know, there's so many people out there that look like me, but just were not in certain organisation? And that's been a question that throughout my journey, I've always wanted to ask and wanted to probe further. You know, why is it that, you know, when we enter into certain organisations or we look at the makeup of certain organisations, sometimes there isn't that fair representation. And for me, as somebody that's very stubborn and determined, I had to prove and try and find a way to answer that kind of question. And, you know, my career has had its own kind of challenges and barriers. And a lot of times I questioned myself, whether was I good enough? Was I not getting promoted because I wasn't good at my job? I knew I was good at my job because I kept getting told by my managers that, you know, you're doing a fantastic job, you're excelling. I kept asking, what more do I need to do for me to progress in certain organisations? And I'd be told, you need to go away, you need to do X, Y, Z, and I'd go away and I'd do X, Y, Z, and I'd come back and I still wasn't getting promoted. You know, and it started to get me a little bit frustrated, because in certain organisations I actually enjoyed the company I was working for, but as somebody that was ambitious, I couldn't see that progression no matter how hard I tried. And it was that kind of why question that kept coming back to me. Was it because I was a woman? Was it because I was a person of colour? And when I looked in the hierarchy of certain organisations that I worked in, I didn't see that representation. So for me, I felt, well, it's unattainable, therefore I have to leave and I have to go seek it elsewhere. And that was really how my career progressed over the last 20 years. And it was that frustration of not seeing people like me in certain positions that made me kind of think, well, there has to be change. You know, we talk about organisations bringing in fresh graduates, fresh apprentices into the organisation, and these are people with talent. But when they look up into organisations, do they see that career path? And I knew something had to be done about it. And I'm somebody that, if I, you know, a believer on, if you want to see change in the world, you have to be part of that change. I didn't want to sit there and wait for somebody else to go and make that change for me. So I decided to use what I know, which is about recruiting people. I knew there were so many fantastically talented people out there in the market that sometimes just did not get access to those opportunities. And that's where BAME Recruitment was set up. It was really to partner with those organisations that were seeking to diversify their workforce, were looking to find great talent to bring in, but also once that talent was in there, to make sure that they were coming into an environment that would allow them to succeed and to thrive, but also to allow them to grow within those organisations. If you bring great people in, you want to keep them, you want to make sure that they can grow within those organisations. And that's the fundamental reason why I set up my business. And it was really about connecting and engaging with people in a way that was not tokenistic, that wasn't ticking a box, but was genuine about creating real and meaningful change. And we've been very lucky over the last few years to have worked with some incredible companies who are going on a change. I don't think I can sit here and say that there's anyone who's cracked it or anyone who's doing it well. But what I'm so proud of is people are actually coming forward and saying we need to do better. And for me, the biggest change that I've seen in the last few years is leaders taking accountability for driving that change and holding themselves to account to say, I'm going to be making sure that this is now a business priority, to make sure that we can be as inclusive as we can be and make sure that we create opportunities where everybody can come in, irrelevant of their background, irrelevant of them, where they come from. It's about making sure that everyone can have access to those opportunities. And for me, this is where I was really excited when we got to partner with Mitie, because I feel that you're at that turning point of movement of change, as Ruth nicely put it. And it's an exciting time, but it's a time where everybody has to take accountability. This isn't something that should only just lie on the shoulders of HR, resourcing or leaders. This is something that everybody has accountability for, whether you're a hiring manager or you're somebody that's involved with bringing fresh talent in. How are you going to look after those people? How are you going to nurture them? How are you going to support them? And how are you going to empower them to stay and to grow and to see a career path in Mitie? And for us, we're really, really excited to be able to partner with you amongst some of the other kind of partners in making sure that we can support you on this journey and we can go on this journey together. I think Jasmine has touched on some of the areas that will be helping to amplify in terms of attracting a fantastically diverse range of candidates to the opportunities that are in Mitie. And for us, it's an exciting start to this journey, and we're really delighted to be going on this journey together with you. I will hand over to Phil.
Well, thank you for that, Cynthia. I mean, we talked when we talked to Cynthia, we asked her to really help drive access to all that talent pool that potentially we weren't getting into. And I just wondered, since we spoke, we've appointed you, but is there any, can you point to any successes that we've had, or any observations that you've made since that time? I know we have Prad Carlo on your team now, running our energy business, and Joe is now part of the exec team, so welcome to that as well. So it's starting, because I think one of the issues was recruiting at the sort of managerial levels and getting people up. I just wondered how you find us and what progress we're making there, Cynthia.
Yeah, I think we're just starting to build that in. So I think at the moment we haven't actually started that engaging process, but we've built the career platforms, which hopefully should be going live soon, to make sure that everyone has access to some of those leadership opportunities when they come through. I think we've been working closely with Jasmine and her team in terms of getting that set up alongside some of your external partners to make sure that we can facilitate access for candidates to come in. For me, that senior level is somewhere that we really do have the expertise and the experience, especially with candidates that come from marginalised backgrounds. That is somewhere that we really want to have an impact in terms of when we look back a year from now, we want to make sure we've been able to make a visible impact. And especially at, bringing candidates from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds who don't always get access to some of those leadership roles. That's an area that we really want to focus on and make sure we giving you access to that wonderful talent, but really working with you in a way that's not tokenistic, that's about getting people that are highly skilled into those roles.
And I always like to sort of measure our scores on the doors, as it were. And I have agreed with Jenny Duvalier, our non-exec director, Jenny's also our chair of the REM, the Remuneration Committee, that part of my remuneration is tied into actually seeing a material improvement in certainly our ELT, our executive leadership team, and our GLT, our group leadership team representation by the community. So we are trying to sort of put some hard measurements around it, but it's early days yet. But hopefully we can make progress on that. And on Jasmine, I know we have made some good progress. It always feels to me though that in fact, some of the things we've done we didn't mention. I think we've done a good job on the apprenticeships, Carl. We're trying to get more diverse apprenticeships, apprentices into the apprenticeship scheme. And I wonder how that's going so far, Carl. Have we made some progress?
We've been working quite a lot. We've been working quite a lot on two folds. I mean, one is to bring in more apprentices in general, and we are ahead of target. Second, we want to launch a technical services academy. Third, and I've been mentored by Damola, which is sitting in front of me. We're discussing as well. I mean, how can we tap into those pockets of talent that are specifically core and BAME? And for the moment, I mean, we are then giving diversity first when it comes as well selecting an apprentice or a graduate as well in that. So I mean, we're doing good progress there. There's tons to do still, but encouraging, I would say.
And I think as well, I mean, Peter Dickinson, you're on the line as well, but safeguarding our front line and the areas around mental well-being and health and PPE. I mean, to the extent a lot of our BAME colleagues are on the front line. I mean, it feels like you've made some good progress recently on some of the additional benefits that we are providing our colleagues.
I think that's right, Phil. What the COVID crisis has demonstrated is the essential nature of so much that we do for our clients and for the community at large. I think it also brought into stark relief the risks that our colleagues take when they're on the front line at a time of pandemic, and clearly their health and well-being has been our #1 priority throughout the crisis. And what we felt was appropriate, thinking very hard, how can we acknowledge the tremendous contribution of our front line, and that was to focus on enhancing terms and conditions. And we were able to introduce life assurance across our entire workforce, access 365 days a year for our colleagues to an online medical service, and also a vaccination programme. And we're very much looking for other ways in which we can enhance benefits over time, recognising that as a business operating in our sector, which is a fairly challenging one, affordability is also important. But I think what we need to keep remembering are the challenges people face generally at work, but also I think a set of new challenges have arisen through COVID, and we as an organisation need to be prepared to react to that and offer appropriate support. And the HR team led by Jazz with all of her team, we're continually monitoring feedback we're getting from colleagues on the front line and looking to ensure that what we offer is the right level of support to enable them to do their jobs well and to be able to contribute to society and to their families.
Good. I think we were pleased to see the progress there on the additional frontline rewards. I think one thing as well, Jasmine, that has struck me, and it was interesting you were talking about the 172 grievances, but just checking out that we have a fair process for hearing the grievances and to what extent grievances are upheld. I mean, not always, they aren't always, and I think it's tied in with one of the commitments we made is tied in with what Ruth was talking about around training and awareness, because I sometimes think people aren't always aware of what they're saying, or the impact it's always back to the impact intended versus impact felt. And the impact felt can be different to what the impact was intended, but we've got to raise awareness of that. And I just think it's worth us looking at making sure that we follow up some of these grievances. I know Paul Sony mentioned something to me where he'd raised something. I hope I'm not divulging anything I shouldn't have done by the name there, but just making sure that we've got a fully sort of independent hearing of some of these points and not just closing ranks on it, as it were.
And Phil, perhaps I could just pick up, we have our whistleblowing service, which is run by an independent organisation. And I would encourage anybody who, in the first instance, if they experience issues which they wish to raise, their line manager, or as Jazz has indicated, she's very willing to receive any concerns directly. But if somebody wants to do it either anonymously or via an independent third party, we have our whistleblowing helpline, and I can assure you that every single matter that is referred there is properly investigated and triaged, and we take everything very, very seriously. So we would encourage people who have any concerns to reach out and to ensure that we're made aware of them.
Okay, I think I had some final remarks at the end, Demola, but I thought we'd go to Q&As now, and then I'll just wrap up if that works for everybody. We only have, from what I can tell, we only have a small number of points this time. I think we were a bit more creative last time in all the things that we could do differently. But it's what I think hopefully we demonstrate is that there is a network, like-minded people who are wanting to get more support and more ideas into our planning and into our execution. But how are we playing Daisy or Merle? I'm not quite sure how we're playing the questions.
Is there any there that you can read out to Merle?
I've got a couple here. I'm not sure I can answer all of them, but I'll have a go. Please, if you do have any questions, do chip in. We were hoping we might try and get more people on video, because I think sometimes it's easier to feel like it's easier to talk than it is almost to email. But there was a question here, Jasmine, about inclusion champions and reference to Stonewall, who have diversity champions program, and what's our thinking of our diversity champions. I recall we used to be more affiliated with Stonewall. I know it was on a number of people's emails at the bottom. I'm not entirely sure what our relationship is with them now, whether it's formal or informal. What's our thinking on our inclusion champions, and what specific? How do we create that network of really motivated people, and then how do we build out from that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So
I think Marcia might have an answer to the question here.
Go for it, Marcia.
Marcia, what do you think, Marcia?
Hi Phil. Hi everyone. I'm hoping you can see me. So we have been doing an awful lot of work since the first summit, and we've been speaking a lot with, and thank you to all the GLT and SLT that have invited myself and called to come and speak to you all. What I'm finding across the business, especially with our clients, there is a real passion and keenness for us to be able to partner with them, to be able to do these kind of champions. So I found within some of our actual businesses, as their business units, we already actually have D&I kind of leaders who are asking for us to be able to do some toolbox talks or kind of talks together, team talks as well, such as PricewaterhouseCoopers in healthcare. I know St George's are pretty keen to get something, especially now in Black History Month. They're quite keen to get something started. So it's a lot of partnerships that we'll be kind of picking up to kind of engage. So yeah, I do think that having these inclusion champions is a really great idea. So again, with the SLTs, if they can start thinking about who within their business they would be looking at, then it would work. Yeah.
And maybe one, Demola, for you around just the idea of getting more sort of communications with other clients as well. Yeah, how do we build out the network? And do you get a chance to talk to Lloyd's equivalent and explain what we're doing, and then what they're doing, and just exchange ideas on that?
So it's actually been really busy over the last few weeks when it comes to the activity with our different clients. I'm really grateful for all of the different SAMs who have helped put us in contact with their different clients. We just yesterday alone, it was a very busy day. We had both Vodafone and Sky talking to their equivalents and to the networks and building out activity and looking how we can work closer together. And I think just in general, I have to say it's been extremely positive in terms of our the SLTs having different people coming in and speaking about what is going on within their different networks, how the network leads have really been going out and putting out more communication. So especially this week, National Inclusion Week, where we have had three, four network calls already this week, with another 2 to 3 to go tomorrow. So it's been very busy on the communication front, and I think it's great if people just continue to tap into what is being pushed out. We're still working with our different channels, and we're still working to get more visibility on the front line. So a big request we have for everyone is, if you have a frontline member that's not connected, use your time to send them links. We're trying to make links more available, but also there's more information that will be sent down to the frontline in terms of poster packs for people to engage with. So just watch this space. There's no shortage of communication. It's just about making sure you can capture one of them. Is definitely what I'll say.
Brilliant. Well, I didn't put you on the video just because there's some hand sanitizer there. I do have it around the office and create a safe environment for everyone to work in. But Jasmine, on the question about Stonewall, what is the situation there now?
So we did used to partner Stonewall. We were formal partners. We've got more of an informal relationship with them now. It's about £20,000 to partner Stonewall, and we're looking for inclusion champions that support all diversity strands. So I think we're just trying to grow our own. We've got some amazing talent in the business that run the networks already, the chairs. So it's about being inclusive and not kind of investing in one strand. And where we do have the budget, we're investing in the right things. So partnering with Cynthia and Ruth to really move the dial.
Okay, brilliant. And then there's questions about training and diversity. And I think we've tried to address that. Get managers to do the courses on the Learning Hub. I think the plan is to put it on the Learning Hub there. I did my training today, and what did I learn? I mean, as someone who's over 60, I had this sort of unconscious bias that people my age aren't as capable with technology, but it was interesting, someone commenting that made them feel less listened to. And I was also struck by one comment about someone saying, my religion doesn't mean you can sort of put me in a box. You know, I have my own values and my own thinking, and I'm an individual, and you need to go deeper. And that's something certainly that resonated with me that I needed to do more of as well. So I think the training, when the Ruth training is rolled out, it will be available, Jazz, to everybody. We'll make sure that we'll make sure that we've got a way of just checking that people have done it as well. Just like we do with whether it's modern slavery or whether it's corruption at work or whatever. We just got to make sure everyone feels in that they've understood this and they've given it thought. And there is a comment here which talks about, I hear it sometimes, and I slightly thought it's anonymous, so I'm not. But it is this idea that everyone's equal, and we get there. So why do we have to make extra effort? Here, and I just feel like we do. And it's a comment I made before that, my kids have never been, disadvantaged because of their colour, and yet I do think it still goes on in our country. Forget what's happening in America. That's another ball of wax. But what we can only do with what we can do with that we can influence, and I can influence, and this team can influence what we do about inclusion in Mitie. And it's a start, and if we can then roll it out to our clients and be seen as a real champion of it, then we're making a difference. And I don't make any apologies for saying we want Cynthia to produce shortlists that always have a diverse candidate on it with the right credentials, and we want to see a change in Mitie, and if people don't feel comfortable about that, they're in the wrong company. We want people feeling like they're included. Any other questions that I've sort of got here? Anyone else want? Certainly things about, I just think there's stuff in around discrimination treatment. It's what I call casual stuff. And I know, Marcia, you and I talked before, and when you'd done interviews over the phone, and then you felt like you walked into the room, and then someone took, was taken aback. And we just got to get, that's what we're dealing with, isn't it? And how we get people more aware of that.
So I understand that some people are thinking to themselves, really, well, why diversity? It's not that diversity is taking a preference now. It's the fact that we're trying to ensure that everybody's included. So it's not about excluding a group. Yeah. It's including those that usually get excluded. So this is what we're trying to create here. And we did an exercise recently in one of our network groups called Privilege Awareness. And if you all had an opportunity to take this kind of do this exercise of taking a step forward, taking a step back, you would actually realise that although it may seem as if there is some kind of preference going on, some people are just not, because of their diversity. Some people are not actually privileged to some of the access of things that others may be. So this is where it has become quite important, really, as an organisation, to make sure that everybody is feeling included. It's a horrible feeling, and it can mess around. And I've heard Cynthia speak about it as well, where it's been said you go for an interview, and when doors keep closing in your face, it starts to mess around with your mental health, because you then start questioning your ability. It plays with your confidence, even when you are being bullied or harassed at work. There is something called microaggression that is really real. And with somebody that is being attacked in a microaggressive way, again, it messes with their mental health, because they're not, nobody else can see it. So, it was only a joke, or no, he didn't mean it, or she didn't mean it. And then again, you start questioning yourself. So, yeah.
That's why we're doing it. That's why we're doing it. Yeah. People like Marcia. I also think that, as we get older and the younger kids generations come through, maybe there's more, these people just have more in common somehow. I sometimes think it's I think of my kids now, and they're a very diverse group of friends. Was there any more question for calls? So just checking, will there be, there's a question here, will there be specific targets for increasing diversity in the GLT? The answer is yes, and I think we're looking for a 20% increase, or 20 or 30, but it was a material increase.
I think Jasmine might be able to give a bit more detail on the targets that were outlined.
Do you have the targets, Jasmine? Do you have my targets?
Yes, I do.
You should have them. It's either I have 18% somewhere in mind, but I think we could probably do a little bit better than that.
Yeah, so we've committed to 2 public targets, which we're completely committed to and making strides towards at the moment. So one, which is increasing the number of BAME employees on the ELT, GLT, 10% members by 2023, 20% by 2025. And again, we've got a target women, so increasing the women on the leadership teams, 35% by 2023 and 40% by 2025. And our starting point, just to give you a bit of context of that, is 3% of our leadership team at the moment sits within the BAME category, and 21% are female. So it's a long way to go. These are ambitious targets, but we are fully committed to getting there.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, anything else? How does one become a champion, a diversity champion, Jasmine, at a client site? Is there a support package or something?
Yeah, so watch out for the follow-up email to this, and all of the information will be included.
Question here about gender balance, which you've addressed, so thank you for that one. Question about holiday period, cover over Christmas, but I think that's always a challenge that I think we've got to take up with the line management teams and see what we can do to help in that regard. Usually you find that your teammates will try and cover you if possible when it's particularly important for religious reasons as well. We should support that. Okay, and then the next was a question about what's the number to ring on the whistleblowing people. It's on the website. You just got to look it up. I don't have the number at hand, but it's readily available there.
Yeah, we can include that in the comms that Jazz sends out. So we'll make sure that we have a link to it and numbers, etc.
Okay, and then anything else, Mo? You're there. I know you've been keeping Deloitte happy over the quite difficult times. But anything on your side that we haven't covered off?
No, it's been good to hear the conversation that's taken place today. I think the important thing with diversity and inclusion initiatives is that we're able to demonstrate progress being made. Yes, with a business of our size, it might be a bit slower for the wheels to turn and things like that, but it's important that we do track it, we monitor it, and we always periodically check in to report on that. And it's something that I want to see us going forward continue to do. From looking at some of the questions as well, it seems as if the front line, for various reasons, are a bit disgruntled about one or two things that I feel it's important that we make sure that the communications and the initiatives are getting down to the front line, and not just becoming sort of office-based or management-based initiatives. So that's something that going forward as a business, I think we should definitely look to. And on a wider point as well, with the impending merger with Interserve, we're in a very unique position as we'll be becoming the biggest FM company in the UK. We can really have a ripple effect in the industry and in wider society in our position. So the positive changes that we make could go much wider than the business. So it's something to keep in mind as we do these things.
And we talked about winning awards and the inclusive UK employer. We're number 6 now, Jasmine, and we're in for the most diverse company in the National Diversity Awards. But I should also say that Mohammed is down for the Young FM Leader of the Year award. So we have our fingers crossed for that one. When do we hear about that one, Mo?
So the dinner typically takes place in November. However, with everything going on, it's being postponed until March next year now. So a slightly longer wait, but I'm looking forward to it.
We're all rooting for you on that one. Yeah. So look, thank you for that. Thank you for the questions and everybody. And obviously, as always, more ideas we have, the more we can work on and the more progress. Jason Towers, you have a quick question here. So, or is it a question or a point?
It's a point, and I think everybody can hear me. Just it would be remiss of us not to mention some of these points, but I have the privilege of working with the co-chairs at Cord. I think I've done an amazing job at using our broader strength and our network across the business and setting up their wider steerco. So that will really be able to help us with diversity champions. But I think working with them over the last few months, we have 30 minutes a week, and it's the 30 minutes of the week I look forward to more than anything, because I learn so much. And whilst it's the Cord network, it really does help us understand the broader networks. I think it's more than just about the network we work in. So I thank them very much for spending the time with me, but they've worked incredibly hard, as well as all the networks have. And I think we found out this morning that, or a couple of hours ago, that the Cord network had been shortlisted for the Ethnicity Awards. And if you look at the brands that were associated with Phil, I think it's incredible. We're the only outsourcer to be nominated or shortlisted, next to companies such as Rolls-Royce that Carlo works so well with, and Vodafone and National Grid. So I think what that tells us is that we are getting through. And if we look back to your point around looking back over the last few months, if we can achieve what we've achieved remotely and continue with that agenda and continue to drive inclusivity, I think we've got a great future ahead of us. But I just wanted to say how proud I am of all you guys in the core networks and helping me personally work a little bit differently in my day-to-day job. So thank you.
CJ, anything to add? Since you're in the middle here, you have a chance to speak.
I think we had multiple discussions. I mean, again, as Cynthia said, the change is you. The change is constant, as you say. And if we are right now in the middle of the change, and we are the change. And I think with your leadership and the leadership around the table, I've been welcomed into the ELT, and I could see the amount of change as a leadership team is doing for my team. And if the change doesn't happen within you, the change is not going to happen. I mean, it will be taking the ball. So I think I'm very proud. We are in the right company, doing the right things, and we just need to keep carrying on. So.
Good. Well, thank you everyone for that. Thanks, CJ. And thank you again, team Marcia and Demola for organising. I think just to wrap up, a couple of comments. So hopefully, I think you can see we are making progress and headed in the right direction with a vision that I think we can all get behind. And I think it's great having Ruth and Cynthia just to sort of keep us honest and make sure that we're doing as much as we can. We'll certainly always have Jenny to make sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves, i.e., we keep pushing and striving for further improvements, because we have a strategy for diversity inclusion, as Jasmine mentioned, and creating a really truly inclusive culture and build around those 4 areas of leadership, ensuring we have a diverse senior leadership team, which we talked about, to drive a really inclusive culture where everyone's proud to wear the Mitie badge. We are focusing on resourcing, and Cynthia is a key element of that, to ensure that our resource is fully inclusive and hiring from the most diverse talent pool possible. We are focused on career development as part of our strategy, and ensure that career progression and training is an absolute core element of that, and that's why the Learning Hub is so important to that, and the training modules that Ruth and her team will roll out will be an important element behind that. And then finally, on reward and recognition, ensuring that we've got a proper diverse reward and recognition program that really celebrates the right behaviours. What we're trying to do is change behaviours here and celebrate that. And we always talk about the what and the how, and the how is really important when we assess people's performance in terms of what they deliver as well. And if we do all those, I'm certain we can see progression in Mitie. And as the boss of Mitie, I want to see Mitie being a force for good. And the point I think that Mohammed you made as well about with Interserve, potentially we're 80,000 employees and touching 7 or 8 million people passing through the buildings we take through care of every day, and huge array of different clients. And if we can be that force for good and be recognised for it, be recognised by our people who feel included, but also by our customers, by other companies who see Mitie then as the gold standard, who they want to aspire to. That's why all the comms is so important. Then I feel like we'll have made some progress and done our our small bit to making things right. We won't always get it right, but if we get it, despite all our best efforts, if we don't get it right, please speak up. You've got support. You can trust us to listen. And remember, this is National Inclusion Week, so have the conversation. about inclusion and about our diversity and inclusion strategy. Cascade the information I think we've sent out to managers in the weekly update, Jasmine. Join the networks and start your learning journey as well, and do the training. Be honest, it's quite interesting. You get a different answer, then you get a different response in the training, and it makes you think about how people see it from different angles. And also keep updated on the People Hub as well. It helps us inform the decisions that we make around developing our people. We want to make sure we've got the right data on everybody around inclusion and our targets. So, and then together we'll make Mitie a great place to work. And if we do that, I think we'll all feel proud of the role that we've played. So thank you very much. Thank you, Ruth and Cynthia, for dialing in today. Thank you for all the speakers, Jenny and the team, and look forward to the next summit, number 3. Thank you.